Hello and welcome to another Respond Billing instructional video. My name is Jeremy Johnson and today we will be going through part 3 of our NEMSIS Import instructional videos. Parts 1 and 2 cover the setup that's necessary on the customer side, and this part 3, will cover the final import of actually bringing in a file from your PCR vendor and having that file import and post into billing. As always, you can pause the video at any time and review the steps on your own system. And if you have any questions at any point, please don't hesitate to call us on the support line, 800-987-0911, and please select option 5. So for today, we have several steps that we're going to follow. Step number 1 for today's videos is watch the first 2 videos. The 2 videos previously cover the different codes that must be set up on billing in order for your input to function properly. And there are several different things that need to be taken care of for the data to match. Keep in mind, NEMSIS imports operate differently than ASCII imports if you're used to doing that file format for an import. ASCII could map one code to another, but NEMSIS files must match exactly on particular fields. So please take the time to view the 2 previous videos in this series to know how you need to configure your system. Step 2 is going to be to get a file from your PCR vendor. A file is going to contain a series of calls for a date range that you specify, and you're going to save that file somewhere locally on your system so that you can browse to it, whether it's on your desktop or in a mapped or saved or a networked drive somewhere. As long as you can easily browse to it from your PC, you should be just fine with that. Please make sure that the file that you're saving is in an XML format, and understand that your file may either be NEMSIS version 2 or one of the different NEMSIS version 3 formats. Those are 2 different formats that do require some differences in setup on the code side with billing, so please know what type of file you are importing. So, moving on to step number 3, the first thing that you're going to do on step 3 is go to the import.tritech.com website. This is a site that we set up and provide you access to, and this is the front door for bringing in your import file. So you'll be provided with a username and login information here. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in at this time. Okay, once you get logged in, you're going to see this basic page here. First step is going to be to find your file. So you choose your file, you're going to browse to that file on your desktop or on the drive that you've shared. I've got my file right here that I'm going to use, so you simply select that file and then it will show it here as the file that you're trying to import. No other changes are necessary. Once you select the file and have it populated there, then you select the import button. Once you select that, you'll see it initialize and you'll see a green progress bar come across here as it imports a particular call or a series of calls. So we've got one call in this file, and that call has imported. It says it's finishing right now, and I want to talk through some of the results and some of the different things that can happen as you're importing. The first place that you could see feedback is up in this top area here. If you see that the file has failed to import in this area, it means there's a problem with the file that you were provided from your PCR vendor. There may be different characters or different problems with that file that are not making it compatible. So if it fails up here in this top area, contact your PCR vendor and see if you can find out what might be wrong with the file. The file may also post over here on a failed to import basis. Now, it happens only occasionally that it fails to import in this area, and this means there's an issue with the setup on the Tritech side, on the scripts that we've run on your system or different pieces of the puzzle that we've built to make your import work. So if it fails, give us a call and we'll be happy to help you through the support line. Every once in a while you might see a call show up over here in successfully imported. Now you would think you'd want to see everything in successfully imported, but as we get further into the process, you'll realize that partially imported is where most of your data is going to land. Successfully imported calls will only populate in this area if every single piece of information on that patient care record exactly matches the different possible fields in billing. Now the trick with that is that the scene or the residence that the ambulance was dispatched to would have to be a saved location code on your system, and those typically are not saved. So you won't often see things in the successfully imported area. Most of your calls are going to show up in partially imported. And so that's where we see at this time just this single PCR number listed here. There is some reporting here if there are errors that pop up that you can research if you want to get into what might have happened on your import if it fails. But basically, you simply browse to the file, import, shows up here in partially imported, and you have done the import process. That call is now in billing. So at this point, we can head over to billing. So how do we find that call or series of calls that were just imported into our billing system? One of the things that we do for you in your NEMSIS Import setup is we create a call report that will allow you to access those calls and essentially provide you with a to-do list of things that you need to work on that have just come into your system. So you'll go up to Reports, select Call, and then you're going to search for a saved report that we've created for you. And these reports are typically called the NEMSIS Imported Calls Report. Select that, hit OK, and it populates some different settings that we have built for you. The great thing about this report is you don't have to do any adjustment to it. You simply bring it up and then run the report. So I'm going to run that report right now. And what this report will generate for me is a list of all the different calls in my import file. Now, my file only contained a single call, call number 5809. So what you can do with this, depending on how you want to handle your internal processes, you can print out the results of this call report. You can write down the call numbers. You can take a screenshot, save it to file, however you'd like to interact with this. But this essentially is your to-do list. These are the calls that have been imported through your NEMSIS import and need now to have some updates done to them and have them looked over in order to start the billing process. So I can now close out of this report, and out of my reports menu, I can select data entry, call, and I can key in the first call number on my list. And I'll bring up this call. A couple different things that you'll notice right away. It landed, the call, and this patient landed in a default call type. That's how we set up your import. It also landed in a NEMSIS import schedule. Again, that is how it is built. It's designed to land in that NEMSIS import schedule because you as the biller are going to have to select whatever schedule you want to put it in depending on the patient and the payers and the whole situation for this particular call. So let's look at the different tabs and look at the different information that has come in on this call. The first thing we're going to land on here are our locations. Now you'll notice in this case both the pickup and drop-off locations are listing this NEMSIS import default location. Now that is because there was not an exact location match in our system. But the details button is lit up in blue. That tells us there's information here. So I can select those details and I can see that this is the address for this pickup location. And as I read through the different pieces of the narrative that we'll get to later and the rest of the patient care record, I'll maybe see that this is the residence for this patient. So by checking that details button, I can now just go over to a pickup location and choose residence. Same thing for the drop-off location. It shows up with this NEMSIS import default location. I can select the details, and I've got an address here and then a description of Great Plains Health. Now this is an important thing to realize here because this is more than likely a common hospital that we transport to on a regular basis. So what has more than likely happened in this case is that this description that came from our PCR does not match exactly the location that's saved on our billing system. So we can come take a look at our location codes and see if we have a Great Plains Health location. and that is not a saved location in this system. So that would explain why this location did not match and populate here. If this was a saved location, then you would see your location code and the location description show up here, and you wouldn't have to make any changes to that particular location code. So locations will come in on our NEMSIS import. Also, our unit will come in. We've got unit 2. Now there are 3 slots here for the different attendants on this call, and if you built out your staff codes properly into the detail that's described in the second of the 2 previous videos, then those crew members would actually show up here. In this case, if you wanted to populate the crew members, you'd need to get that off of the PCR. What we do see on this tab also is our mileage. So we've got our pickup, our drop-off, and then our loaded miles will populate from the patient care record. So that came in just fine. Next tab is our times. When did we get there? When did we leave? All those times have come in from our NEMSIS import, from our PCR, and we don't have to key in any of that. The billing tab is, of course, the responsibility of the biller, so nothing's going to come in there. Our reason codes, these will import. So we've got our ICD-10 code listed right here. So whatever choices were made on the side with the crew, those will populate there as well. We look at the different tabs that are available. You will see some information show up often in the attachments area. You will see this raw data record, the raw NEMSIS record file. This is your XML file that will be added onto this call. So you've got the raw data available if you need to go back to that. Now what you don't see is any narrative information and whatnot. And if you've got a place where you need to put in that narrative information, now that narrative tab is not turned on in this particular call type in this system, but if you've got a narrative that you want to add to continue to tell the story of this call, where do we get that information? One of the very handy features of the way our NEMSIS import works is that we have this NEMSIS PCR button available right here when you're bringing in NEMSIS 3 data. If you're bringing in NEMSIS 2 data, the narrative will populate on the narrative tab here available. But the NEMSIS 3 files populate here. What this is a tab by tab, page by page depiction of the entire patient care record. Our patient information, all of our addresses and whatnot are listed right here. We've got our call narrative. All the details of that call narrative are right here. All the response, any payment information that was collected at the time, assessments, vitals, the whole story of the call is told in this area. So if you as the biller need to know any more information about what happened on this call so you can properly code it, make sure you get paid, you will be able to find 9 times out of 10 what you need in this area. So that NEMSIS PCR button is a very, very useful and powerful tool. So at this point, you're going to change your schedules, update whatever patient information you need to, start adding your charges. Your mileage is already in there, and you've got a patient and a call imported into your system that is now ready to enter the billing cycle. So that is the end of our NEMSIS import process. You simply begin with getting the file from your PCR, save that file locally, go to import.tritech.com, choose that file, import it. You'll see your results here. And then in billing, you're going to go ahead and run your NEMSIS imported calls report. And that report is going to bring you up your to-do list of the calls that you will need to interact with for this import. And then once you interact with that call and move it out of that import schedule, then it won't populate on this report and you'll know that you're done with that particular call. And then you just go down your list. So that is our NEMSIS 3 and import process with a couple details included for NEMSIS 2. As always, if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to call us on the support line at 800-987-0911 and select option 5. This has been the Respond Billing NEMSIS Import instructional video. Thank you for taking time to watch, and thank you for being part of the TriTech family.